Hey, hey, how's it going, everyone? I am so excited. Listen, get used to this. Every week, I'm going to be coming on Thursdays to, just share thoughts, insights about pro aging. Now, I did this before, so I'm doing this again. It didn't work the first time. Not sure what happened. So I'm redoing this whole thing, which I don't mind doing because you know what? I love all of you and I love sharing information that can help you thrive as you age. So this is it. So I'm trying this once again. And I'm going to start with talking a little bit about how I got into all of this because I think it's really important and talk a little bit about who I am and how I'm showing up in the world because I think it's really, really important. So, first things first. And if you're on and you happen to be watching this, can you just put a comment to say, yes, I can hear you? Because for some reason, the first time I did this, no one could hear me. So, not sure what happened. So, I want to say this. I love the work that I do, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So, this is how my life started. I was born in England, grew up in Nigeria, and I now live in United States, specifically Atlanta. And living in these different countries, I observed, yay, thank you, Dr. Lulu. I observed their how they responded to older people. I just kind of paid attention to that because I think it's really important, depending on the culture, that you observe how they treat older people in the community. And I did that. I was like, I paid attention to that. Now, I'm going to go back to when I was 19 years old and I was watching a documentary. I was in college in the UK at the time. And I remember watching this documentary on TV. Before I got to that document, I was flipping through the channels. And back then they only had 4 channels. And so I was flipping through the channels and I stumbled on this documentary about food. And so I started watching it, and all of a sudden I got really uncomfortable because what they were sharing was they were sharing how food gets to our table. So they'll show the cattle, and then eventually I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it kind of took a different turn in terms of like, I didn't realize that that's what they do in order to get food on our table. So, needless to say, right after that documentary was over, actually, before the documentary was over, I made a decision within myself that I was no longer going to eat meat. And I'm 54 years old now. At the time, I was 19. So do the math. That was a long time ago. And back then, there wasn't really a lot of options if you didn't eat meat. Now they have so many vegetarian options and they didn't have all that. And so I just made this decision. And so I kind of navigated this path for myself and try to figure out what to eat and what to do. So one of the things I stopped doing was I stopped drinking sodas, fizzy drinks off the table. I stopped having candy. And back then, I loved my Kit Kat and Twix. Gave both of those away. Stop doing that. And then I started investigating a lot of the food that we put into our mouths. And so I started reading up about, the different colors and dyes that they put into our meals. And I was like, ooh, I'm loving this. And so I was really glad to just start making my own meals and being very intentional about what I put in my mouth. And like bread, I started investigating white bread and all of that. And I became very, very intentional about what I would eat. And I remember just observing that I started to feel different. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to lose weight. That was not my goal. Because I was very happy with my weight at the time. So it wasn't because I was trying to lose weight, but there was something different. Like I would wake up feeling light and just there was something. And then one thing I did notice also in changing my diet was my skin. Oh my goodness, my skin was glowing. And people would make comments and say, wow, what are you doing? You look kind of different. And I would tell them, and I remember my classmates saying, well, okay, can you create something like that for us? And I would create these little meal plans for them. And I would see the progress in them too. It was so exciting. Now, I was in college at the time for computer science. So I knew that that was going to be my path. And I didn't even think that I could make a career out of showing people how to live a healthy lifestyle. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind. I'm like, no, I can't do that as a living. I'm going to focus on computer science. And so after graduation, I started working, and then I did a lot of internships while in college. But I realized that most of the companies I did internships with were American based companies. And I thought, why am I here? I might as well go to America and find a job and be where all the IT companies are. And so I started searching, and then I got a job in Boston and moved to Boston. And I'll tell you, Boston was cold. When I say cold, cold on all fronts. And I didn't really love the place, did not. And I had this opportunity in 1996 to go to Atlanta to watch the Olympics. So Nigeria was playing soccer for the Olympics. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch Nigeria play. And so I went from Boston, flew into Atlanta. Let me tell you, I was like, whoa, there's a place like this that exists. First of all, the weather is amazing. The people were so friendly. And I was like, okay, this needs to be my next place. I need to move. And so after the Olympics, probably a month after, I moved to Atlanta. And back then, finding jobs in IT was easy. I found like 3 jobs before I moved. I had to make a choice. So I moved to Atlanta and I continued this path of living a healthy lifestyle. And I'm going to be honest with you, back then it was kind of challenging. Like most people are like, why don't we want to eat meat? Just have a little bit. It's not like now where people accept that, okay, this is your choice. They want to know why. And so I had to educate people and tell them why. And sometimes it was exhausting, but I kept this whole thing like, okay, I'm not going to eat meat. And so living in Atlanta, it was different. I loved the people, the weather, things were going good. And then I decided, you know what? I really would love to be able to make a career out of helping people live a healthy lifestyle, because this was something I did as a person. So this was how I showed up in the world. And people would ask me like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And I would show them, and I share these little meal plans with them and tell them what to do. And for me, I was almost like my own billboard for my business. And I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to go back to school and kind of learn about this. So I did that. I became a certified life coach for healthy living and started kind of building up my clientele that way. And I specifically focused on women in their 40s and over. And I did that because I knew that women in their 40s and over were struggling. Most of them had had their kids, and for a lot of them, they found themselves in a situation where like, oh, what's going on? I used to be slim and now I'm not. And so I would help them with that. And because I was in my 40s at the time, they could relate to me. And so I was doing that. But I also remember that, and I'm going to share this story with you because sometimes, even when you're doing all the right things can happen to kind of derail that if you let it. And I remember when I was about 25 at the time, and I remember I'd had this headache that was persistent. It wouldn't go away. And I had to call my boss. And I told him, I said, you know what, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I have this terrible headache. I won't be able to make it into work. He's like, okay, take the day off. And the next day, it was still there. And I remember my boss saying, you know what, you probably might need to go to the doctor. So I said, okay, and being a young person, I don't know about you, but when I was young, I really had no interest in going to the doctor. I'm like, I'm young, I'm good. What's up? But I decided to book an appointment. They told me to come in the afternoon. I went in, and I remember them checking me like, okay, they kept checking me. They put the blood pressure cuff on me and things like that. And they checked my weight, and they were checking my legs to make sure it wasn't swollen. And I was like, what is going on? Come to find out that eventually when I went to see the doctor, she was like, well, you have high blood pressure. And I'm going to be very honest with you. At the time, I really had very little knowledge about high blood pressure. I was like, don't know much about that. And she asked me about my lifestyle and everything. I told her, you know what? I live a healthy lifestyle. I work out regularly. And I kind of explained to her, I'm like, I'm not sure why this is happening to me because I live a healthy lifestyle. And then she asked me the question. She said, does anyone in your family have high blood pressure? And I said, yeah, my dad does. And she said, that's probably why I have it. And I said, huh. I'm like, of all the gifts my dad could give to me, he decides to give me this gift of high blood pressure. And then I went on to ask her, I said, so how long do I have to take this medication? Because she said, oh, you're going to have to take this medication. I said, oh, how long do I have to take this medication? She said, possibly for life. I'm like, no, that's not going to be me. She said, well, you'll take it and then come back in a week. We'll see what's going on. And in my mind, I'm like, seriously, Dad, you want to give me a gift that's going to last a lifetime? And this is the gift you want to give to me? So I went home, took the medication, following went back the following week. My blood pressure had come down, but it was evident that it was down because of the medication. And so over the years, I've found, I've kept up, I keep taking the medication, but this is the thing. I would always try and find different ways. Like, okay, I don't want to be on medication. Let me try this natural method. And guess what? And my blood pressure would go up. And so I'd have to go back to the medication. And I'm sharing this with you because you might be in a situation where you want to go a natural route for whatever it is that you have an issue with. But even going that method, it might not be enough. You might need to resort to medication. And I know there are lots of people out there, it's like, oh no, stick with, the natural method. Not all of us have that option. So I wanted to bring that in because even though I was doing all the right things, quote unquote, I had high blood pressure. And even with my healthy lifestyle, I had to take medication in addition to kind of help maintain my blood pressure. So back to, I'm now a life coach helping women lose weight. And when I turned 48, I remember vividly, like remembering like 2 years from my birthday, thinking, I am going to be turning 50 soon. I was so excited. I was like, yes. Because for me, I was like, this is my milestone birthday. I had it all planned. And being the extraordinary person that I am, yes, I'm very extra. I'm like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so I decided later that day to send out surveys to women who are already in their 50s to kind of get some advice. So I sent out the surveys. I was really excited about reading the responses. And I started getting the responses. I was really excited to read them. And I was kind of disappointed when I started reading them. And then disappointment turned into full blown heartbreak. Majority of the women responded by saying that they felt invisible. And I was like, whoa, what is this about? And then I said, okay, you know what? Let me consult my trusted friend Google and find out what this is all about. So I typed in the words invisible woman, and the words invisible woman syndrome popped up. I'm like, whoa, this is a thing. And it's interesting. I actually didn't feel angry or sad when I was reading the information. I actually felt a jolt of adrenaline kick in. And I heard the words vividly say, you can be the change, you can make a difference. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And and this is how I started my journey as a pro aging advocate. I really want to help women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond take up space, loud and proud in this youth obsessed world that we live in. And I know that in inspiring them to take up space, it's not only going to help my generation, because it's going to help my generation immensely. But you know who else is going to be helped by this? The younger generation. The younger ones who right now do not have the concept of getting older because we live in a very youth obsessed culture that really just parades youthfulness everywhere you go. And so this is going to help them. And it starts with really promoting a positive global message around aging. And I can say that being having lived in different countries, actually different continents, I can say that that has helped me immensely because I'm going to be honest with you. I was never scared of getting older because I had seen how, like, especially Nigeria, where a country where I come from, how they respect and they revere the older women. I was like, "Ooh, I want that for myself." I see that, and so I wasn't scared. And being able to travel to different countries also and see how the elders are treated, I was like, this is a good thing. We need to incorporate more of this in our society. And when I say our, I mean the Western society. And so being able to promote a positive global message is the beginning. And that's one of the reasons why I created my YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Over 50, where I share inspiring stories of women in their 50s and over doing amazing things. And I do this because I want other women, because I know there's some women out there in their 50s and over that just feel, this is it, my life is over, there's nothing else to do. And they're struggling with finding who they are. But this show that I have on YouTube, sharing stories like this, can be a source of inspiration for them where they're like, oh my goodness, they're doing that. I can do it too. Because quite frankly, yes, you can. And that's why I created that show. And I know sometimes the world loves to tell us, oh, because you're older now, your value it has diminished. Don't believe that. That is so untrue. Your value remains intact. It does. Fine. Okay, you look a little different. You're not the same, but your value remains the same. And so this is the thing about aging that I think is just so beautiful is we all get to experience if we live long enough. That's the thing. Like if you live long enough, you will definitely experience aging. It's a beautiful gift. And so for me, my goal is to really share insights into realizing that, you know what, this world that we live in, as we get older, we have a lot of wisdom and experience that is priceless that we can share with all of you. And I know that the age, they promote this whole, oh, anti-aging. Quite frankly, I don't really like that word. I'm going to be honest with you, because anti-aging means you don't preventing you from aging. It's not possible. Not possible. Pro-aging to me is more encompassing and is really is a better word to use than anti-aging. And being able to just kind of pick up, like find out for yourself where you have biases on one's, towards aging. And it can be very subtle. Like, for instance, there's a common statement people use a lot, like 50 is the new 40. All right. I want you to really think about that statement. When people say 50 is the new 40, that is society's sneaky way of saying younger is better. I mean, think about it. 50 is the new 40. Why? Quite frankly, 50 is the new 50, 60 is the new 60, 70 is the new 70. Like, really, we get to redefine what over 50, over 60, over 70 means to us. We don't have to make it look younger in order for it to be better. And that's the messaging that I want to share. So, I hope this was helpful to you. I'm going to be here every Thursday. If you want to make comments, if you have questions, please type it in. I see them all as I'm talking. So I'd love to interact with you because this is interactive. And I just want to say thank you for spending some time with me today. You could have been doing anything with your time, but you spent it with me. And I love it. Thank you so much. Take care.